And welcome to the first ever podcast.
So what is it? What is it going to be called?
I was actually going to say a name, but I couldn't think of a cool name right off the cuff, so you'll have to think of something really, really cool and interesting. Um,
Geo
so
and
because
Jin,
we,
Jin and Geo podcast.
Jen and G, J&G Services. I don't know why.
You're gonna have.
Because I'm looking down at the meeting, it says Gin and Account Services, so J&G Services. So maybe it makes sense.
I'm using
All
my.
right,
Okay, so
that's
this is our first podcast episode. I think. uh, I think we're just. I'm in the mood to create. So I just want to like make things and put it out there. Jin has some other reasons for doing it.
No, hold on. Mine is very similar to your reason, but I'm not trying to put it all out there. I like to put a lot of different stuff out there, but you already know. I create a ton of content, and I actually try my hardest to not put the majority of it out there because, right, when we talk about like creatives and what you're putting out there, you have to be very careful, especially if you're, let's say, like not super spectacular in what you do. So like, yes, you want to put it out there, but like you don't want to be,
You don't have to
what's the
be
word?
good at it to put it out there. You can put it out there.
I'm not. I'm not saying not to put it out there. I'm just saying just be careful not to be. What's that called when it's kind of like people become desensitized to your content because you put so much of it out there. I'll give you a case in point.
That could happen,
Facebook, the
but that's
very easily happen. Would you
it's
agree? It could happen easily.
it could happen, but that also could be. What about the opposite end, where people like to see your stuff and they want to see everything? They want to see you brushing your teeth. So I
The
don't know.
majority of people
They
don't.
cancel.
The majority of people don't.
Yeah, but the majority of people are not going to listen to podcasts. So we are not catering to them. We're catering to the other that non-majority, that 10% that go and don't
I
watch TV but watch YouTube. Those cord cutters, those new generation that grew up on YouTube. I grew up on Disney and Nickelodeon. So that's who we are catering to, not the
You,
majority.
you know what? I kind of agree, but you know what I also think to that end? I think we were supposed to be millennials, I think. Because like we don't think like how people in our age is thinking, right? Because the people in our age are not tech savvy. They're still thinking about how great it is to disconnect from technology and how they want to do, and it's all cool, I guess, for their way of thinking, but we're still like, oh, what's the best way to leverage our technology and the things that we have access to? Like most people are still watching TV. They're waiting till like 5 o'clock to watch the news. Versus us, we either get it directly from YouTube. I get it from YouTube, sometimes Facebook, but more so from YouTube and like Twitter than anything else. And other people, probably like our parents, they'll be like, "Oh my goodness, there was a shooting. I want to hear about it at the 5 o'clock news. I'll wait till 5 o'clock then to hear about it."
Is that
How was
your
that
is
Filipino
that your
accent? Did you like
Chinese
that?
accent? What
That
accent?
was a Filipino accent. That was your mother.
Okay, so we made a little agenda to try to keep us on track. And I think we're gonna make the first podcast kind of like the why we did it, like what it's about and stuff and how we're gonna do it. We were like, let's plan this out. We were like, no, let's save the first podcast. Let's do it there. So what are we gonna talk about? We're pretty big into. Maybe we should start with the who first. Who are we? They're probably wondering that.
Sure.
Okay, so
You
I'm
go first.
I don't I don't know what to say. I don't have anything prepared. So I'm Geo. Uh,
We got a list of things to be prepared.
I'm I'm an old man. No, I'm not that old. I'm middle aged. I really like tech stuff. I really like creating. We have some YouTube stuff out there, and we just like to talk about tech. And I like to talk to my friends. So we're like, you know what? Let's just create a podcast, and we could talk and put it out there. I mean, who cares if people listen or not? This is something we'd probably be doing anyways, just talking to each other about the latest stuff.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it's also a better way for us to kind of connect with each other because we live like an hour away from each other. Um, and to kind of, maybe we will, to that end, when we talk about who and also what, like, should we consider bringing our other friends, maybe inviting them because everybody's got lives of their own, that they're constantly busy. So maybe we should incorporate our friends into it just to chime in, just to maybe like, it's like a virtual get together and hang out with your friends and shoot the, wait, can we curse on this podcast?
Yeah, I guess.
Are you sure? Because now we're getting the other segment, like we'll be ranked like as a, censored type of podcast. So maybe we shouldn't curse.
I
But shoot the
already.
poop type of podcast.
I think
We
we
did?
should. Yeah, I think we already did. There's a lot of podcasts out there that curse, whatever. But who are
I know, it
you?
doesn't necessarily.
Who are you, Chin?
Okay, so who am I? First and foremost, I'm a father. All right, I'm a proud father. I love my son. I wish I could spend more time with him. But aside from that, the other thing I am is, I guess I'm technically considered a creative, which probably could be a podcast in its own. But what I do right now is I'm a photographer, and I'm trying to expand this photography service so that it's becoming more of a career and also for the long term. So I do photo, I do video, I do drone. I would say not particularly fantastic at any of those categories, but diverse enough to have an understanding of it, to be able to book gigs. So that's why I think this podcast will just hope to help me grow as a creative in those fields. That's it.
Okay, and maybe we'll have some guests or something like that in the future. But I'm thinking, we're really big into tech. So we'll probably talk about that. Jin likes Apple. I like Android. He's into cameras and drones.
That,
You know,
I think that could be like 365 podcasts just talking about the nuances between Apple, Windows, and then everything in between. Because I do like Apple, but then I also see the limitations, and I'm like, ugh, frustrated as heck sometimes.
yeah, I mean, our opinions, I mean, they're both, great products, and it depends, what you want to do with it, right? So that we can get into that a little later. Electric skateboards, it's pretty big right now with us. I mean, I don't know about Jin, but
We should spend another episode talking about electric skateboards because I think it deserves a whole entire episode with your opinion as well as mine. So we'll just leave it at that. Let's go into the next one.
all right. Where?
Talk about who.
I don't know. We did why we do.
Okay.
We're doing the where. And apologize. I do hear some of the audio like skipping out. We're trying to do this remotely with each other, so it's through the internet. We are gonna see, how this takes off before we really invest in quality hardware. But
I mean, what exactly is quality hardware and talking about the investment, right? So, for example, right now the audio is probably not terrible, but if
sounds
you
like
really
you
want
moved away from the mic.
Oh, does it really?
Yeah.
Okay, well, let me get back to my point then.
There you go.
I thought, you know why? It's because I'm on a Bluetooth headset. I thought it's using this mic, but apparently it's using the mic that's on the MacBook Pro.
Yeah.
So that's already a lesson learned. But anyway, my point I was trying to make is that we probably already have the hardware, or we probably have friends that do. So, for example, I know Sean, our friend, his brother has a Blue Yeti, so we could borrow that one. So then it's just about a matter of getting us into the right environment, which means we'd probably have to podcast from your place or mine or whatever. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that we can get into later, but that
I
would.
think it's a good point because it leads us to the next section of how, and the how part is probably the most interesting part for me because when we talk about how do we do these podcasts, how do we post, how do we set up the audio, that in return is helping us to grow as creatives, as kind of like utilizing the equipment, right? I mean, this would be more audio based, but it could still be the same if we kind of go back to talking about tech and Apple, and then if we get into talking about cameras and drones, I'm sure that I'll have my opinion, or I'll probably give some advice or whatever it is, and then whoever's listening, all three of the people that are out there, probably John, maybe Andrew and John, they'll probably have their opinion. But if we're lucky enough to get somebody that's an expert, let's say in drones, they can then be like, oh, did you know that if you just change your setting, and now you can fly up to over 9,000 feet? You know
Well,
what I
we're not
mean?
talking about drones, more so like the how the. So I Googled, how to start a podcast and what to do. I mean, I feel like, I don't know, I'll probably take more of this back end. I mean, you're welcome to do it as well, but we obviously have to find somewhere to post it and host it. So you have to host them before you can post them. And I mean, I can probably put them up on the random servers. So I have a,
You can, yes.
yeah, I have
We
a
have
website.
places
And
to
I mean,
host
I'll
them.
post
And
it there as well so that that's where they can be grabbed. But then from hosting, you'll create an RSS feed. And from there, that's when you can submit it to like, Google Store and iTunes.
oh, iTunes, it's going directly to iTunes, first place. That's it.
No,
Every
that's
single
it. You don't just
week.
have just Facebook. You have Twitter, you have Snapchat, you have Instagram. You can put it on SoundCloud. You can put it on Google. There's a lot of places you can
No,
put
I'm just saying it's going to be, it's going to the top of the list on iTunes every single week. That's how banging
number one.
this
Yeah.
podcast is. Yeah,
We're,
that's my point.
we're currently listening. We're both listening to Views, which David Dobrik and Jason Nash. They're pretty funny. They were top.
I don't want. They're fun. They're cool. They shoot the shit, just like basically what we're doing. But we already know our lives are better than theirs. I mean, come on, come on, come on. Look,
Yeah, I don't know about better,
so
but they're definitely more entertaining, and they have the views.
audience.
They have the audience. Yeah, we met them at what was that Samsung event in New York.
Wait, Dobrik was there too?
Yeah, yeah, man. Everybody was there. I think you didn't know who he was at that point.
No, I remember meeting Jason Nash at the end,
You didn't,
and
yeah.
then
You didn't know who he
I
was
don't,
either. That
I
wasn't.
didn't really know. I mean, even now, people still don't know who he is.
Well, they came from Vine, a lot of these people, and then when, Vine died, which is Twitter's video app, they had to find a new avenue, so a lot of them moved to
I think
YouTube. But
if you
yeah,
have to explain what Vine is,
some people don't know.
whoever,
I don't know.
but that's my point. They're probably not our audience if they still don't know what Vine is or was.
Yeah, but
I
this
mean,
is
it's only
like, okay,
been like 3 years.
maybe our parents will be our third or fourth listeners, They won't know, but they'll listen to this podcast because they know we're doing it. They,
They won't because they won't even know how to get to it. They'll be like, GL, how do I get to iTunes?
no, are
And
you
then what
kidding?
do
Your
I have to
mom
do?
is like an internet guru. Hey, she
So
she
so
subscribes to all the podcasts. Joe Rogan.
who? My mom?
Oh yeah.
You know what the funny thing is? So I'm in this WeChat with I'm Chinese and all my family. There's like a Wu family like group chat, right? And so I said, you know what? Let me go ahead and send them something. I sent them pictures, right? That's cool. But I also have a YouTube channel for my son, for the most part private, some public videos. And I wanted to show them, I forgot what it was, but it was some like family gathering or like some event. The most recent one was my son's graduation. So I was like, I want to show it to them. But I forgot that they're in China. And for some reason, Facebook and YouTube are completely blocked. I sent them the link to my son's YouTube channel, and they're like, "We can't watch this." Or I think they said that. I know Facebook is blocked for like for
Yeah, no,
sure.
they block a lot of stuff over there on the internet. Like I just found out yesterday that because I'm a big table tennis player, they are blocking some of the sports stuff now. It's not just like political and this and that, but they recently fired the head of the Chinese team coach of table tennis. So the top three members said, I'm going to forfeit my game. I'm not going to play because they were like, what the F? Like, why is he leaving? There was like no explanation or whatever. So then like they started posting to their social media. All those posts got deleted. So yeah, they're pretty restricted over there.
Yeah. Not necessarily a good thing, but then it could be good, right? Depending upon how they want to control. You got to realize there's over like what 1.3, 1.4 billion people, so there's got to be some type of like restrictions on what they can see and do and stuff like that. So I don't know. I don't know. What do you think? You think
I
America
don't
is
know.
just
I
too
mean, I think
open?
yeah, I think it should be freedom of whatever you want to say. You know, you can have the opinion that you want to have. Like Philip DeFranco, if you watch him on YouTube, like he's very like, you know, not one
Opinionated.
both. He sees both sides, and that's how I've always
I,
been. You know, it's like
but the
you can argue, you can have an opinion, you can hate Trump, you can hate Obama or Hillary, but like you're allowed to say, you know, have the opinion that you want. You know, when it comes to physical violence or something like that, or bullying about it, no, but you're allowed to have that opinion. You shouldn't, you know, stop anybody from thinking or saying what they want to say.
Here's the problem with it though. When when opposing sides have their viewpoint and they're so strong and adamant about it, that's fine. But when it becomes to the point where they're too much one-sided, like for example, I'm sure you already have this on your Facebook, but like when Trump became president and then some others came out in favor of Trump, they were like, "Oh, delete me off your friends list now." And it's happened to my like high school friends. I've seen it because one side of it was like, "Oh, I love Trump. I love that he's going to make America great again." And then the other side's like, "Oh, he's an ass. He grabs pussies." And then they're like, "What? You're not going to like this way? I'm not going to like this way? But we shouldn't even be friends." I've seen it happen many, many times,
Yeah.
and that's probably why restrictions are put into
No, but
place.
that's fine. If that guy or girl wants to be like, I don't want to be your friend because who you voted for, then, you know, honestly, if that's their choice and that's what they want, then, you know, really, if you're gonna be that kind of person, I don't know if I would want to be friends with you. That's
No,
fine.
well,
It's when that person takes it violently. Like he goes, now I know you voted for it. I don't want to be your friend. Goes to your car, pops your tires, like threatens your family, things like that. That's not okay. And then that person
I
should be dealt with however the laws are. But if they are like, I don't want to be your friend, that's fine.
Right, and I think we're both kind of agreeing the same point is that when there's freedom of expression, it needs to be to a certain degree of what you can do and say. And maybe that's what China's trying to
When
do,
you
right? They're
say
trying to restrict.
no, they, I mean, they took down posts of what somebody said on their Facebook. I think that's okay. They're not posting about I'm gonna kill somebody or threatening. So you know what I mean? That's the difference. They're taking down whatever they want. What we're talking about is only certain extent, right? Like you're allowed to say, you know, hey, I don't like Trump. But once you put up a bloodied head, you know, or something like that, or there's a threat, or you actually physically do something, that should not be allowed.
So that's what I'm saying. China, I think, is trying to kind of restrict it where they're saying you can't even do that. For example, in Thailand, like the king has to be regarded as somebody who's like, king of the throne, right? He's very powerful, respectful. I think most recently there was like a picture of him wearing like a crop top out
Yeah,
of the gym,
yeah.
and they took it off the internet altogether. They were like they were gonna do something to the person that hosted or posted that image, and that's how powerful it was. So we know that it's not a big deal, right? People get some shits and giggles out of it, and that's it. Everyone moves on. It's the internet. But in Thailand and other countries, they're a lot more conservative with what they want out there. So
Yeah, I think, you know, if he doesn't want that out there, he should be maybe doing it in his private area. You know, if
there's
somebody grabs it
hardly
and
any.
takes the picture, you know, I don't know.
Can you even fathom how difficult it would be for a king to live a very private life who's if he needs to somehow, some way, just kind of be like
Why
out in
can't
the
he be
public,
okay with that private life? Why does he have to hide it?
that's That's the difference, right? We don't understand their culture. I mean, I went to Thailand. I understood a little bit more about it, and it was ton of fun, but I understand that when it comes to the king, there was a lot of respect and regard to the king, or at least the previous king. I don't know how the current king is regarded now, but the previous king was like everybody was in tears when they heard about him being in the hospital and everything. So this new king, I don't know anything
What
about it,
is
so I'm
this
not even going to
going
go
to
into
be a
talking.
political? I thought we said we were going to talk about tech.
Oh yeah. So getting back to the tech that was in Thailand, I got nothing.
Well, how
All
long
right.
are we planning to make these things?
I think 30 minutes is comfortable for me and probably for you, right?
Okay, I thought we were going to do shorter, like, because you said that people aren't going
I
to...
was, I was, hey, I was cool with 15 minutes. You're the one that wanted to do it like Joe Rogan style, go into like 3 to 4 hours,
No, we don't
try
need
to get him
to.
on our podcast. How cool would that be to get Joe Rogan on our podcast?
Well, that's how you blow up your
That's my
podcast
guy.
a little bit, and that's how people find you. You have other big name guests on it. I don't even know
Can we just tag him in this podcast?
when do we
Like, can
start?
we just tag and hashtag him?
How many? No, that doesn't work like that. How? When? What? When did we start? How long are we in right now? That's probably something we should do. We
You're
should.
the, you're the one recording this, are you not? It's
Yeah, but there's no
probably been about
timer on the
30 minutes.
recording.
I don't know that. That's a stupid recorder that you have there. What kind of recorder doesn't allow you to
Oh.
display the time? It's got to be a Windows thing, isn't it? Boom, boom.
No, yeah, this same program works on Mac and it doesn't have the timer.
I'm sure it does. It incorporates the timer automatically into time capsule.
No.
All right. Did we talk about who, what, when, where, why?
Yeah, we talked about all that. That was we were gonna talk about
Are
just
we done
like
with this podcast?
what are the parameters we're gonna use for the podcast? Like what are we gonna talk about? Like, I don't know. How long
So
is
did
it
we talk
gonna
about,
be? Like just stuff
right.
like that. How personal
What
are
about,
we gonna get?
that's what I was going to ask. What about like family and our friends and what's going on? Do we talk about that or do we kind of stay on the side of like, hey, tag, this is coming out, this is cool. I'm doing this, like in your career. To what extent do you talk about, what you do for a living and how it impacts this podcast or people listening?
Yeah, I don't think it does. We could probably hold I think we could probably hold out and not have to bring it out. Maybe for you, because you're more in the creative industry, but this
Well,
really has nothing to do with mine.
I think it would be good for at least to make, like if you have a major feature announcement on your end in terms of technology and what it could do for, let's say, the market, and the people listening potentially, right? We probably want to talk about that for a little bit. Just like me, um, I'm big into cameras and technology, and I just pre-ordered the Sigma Art 24 to 70 millimeter and f2.8 lens. That lens, I've been watching it since Sigma announced it, and I think I waited over 5 months. I can't wait to try it out. I pre-ordered it. It's $1,300. And when it comes out, when I finally get it, I want to be able to do a comprehensive review on it. I'll probably post it up on my YouTube. Even if nobody watches it, I want to be able to give my opinion on what it is because I'm so excited for this lens, and I hope it doesn't let me down, and I don't think it will because Sigma and their art series of lenses has been top-notch with the exception of a couple minor little kind of little things that for me anyways, I could deal with. But the image quality is the ultimate, end game, right? At the end of the day, if you're able to use that lens and you get some like crisp, sharp images with some awesome bokeh, then that's all that really matters, right? And that's what I think this lens will do. So anyway,
This is
when it
where
comes
I'm
out,
not
I'll be.
gonna be able to chime in because I'm not too big on the camera thing.
No, I think you can chime in though, because you can then say, like if I'm saying, oh, it's going to be, such an incredible lens because it produces outstanding bokeh at f4, you can say like, hey,
No, I
what
can't.
about at f2?
I have tons of experience because I have a 7-year-old vlogging camera that I use, a point and shoot. No, I have
Oh,
no.
and we should totally spend an episode talking about our gear that we have So
You
when we
could
talk
spend
about,
the whole episode. I could take 2 minutes.
no, I'm talking about from your camera, right? On the S8 to your vlogging gear to my, well, my probably requires an episode of its own, but even my equipment, I feel like it's already outdated because like the camera that I have, they're already they're already like announcing like at least generation two and things like that. So my technology isn't necessarily the
Don't
newest,
say
but
that
it's
it's outdated. You don't need to have the latest. You know, you only have the latest when you get to that level and you're good and you have millions of viewers and you have the money. Like nobody starts out with that. People start out with crappy cameras and phones. You know, I think if anything, we could also use this platform to probably talk about maybe more in depth of
do more with what you have,
that's
right?
good and do what you can. But more like we could talk about um, the behind the scenes of the vlogs that we make. Like why is it like that? Because people, I think, you know, when I send it to my friends, our friends, our family enjoys watching it, but other people, they don't understand what's going on. So maybe we can kind of explain like the background to why, what happened. We could probably spend a section on that.
I and I think we should have been taking notes on what types of podcasts that we should be doing because that leads me to what the heck? How's your phone call on a podcast? What was that? Are we doing a podcast or we're customer service?
Well, I'm getting,
Why don't you take that
we're
call
working
and
through
I'm
our
gonna call?
computer and everything, my phones, my text messages, everything comes through my computer.
Can you mute me while you take that call?
No, I'm
Okay, then send that to
sending
voicemail
a
and let me
voicemail.
let's hope that we can cut that part out, okay? And boom, get back into what I'm talking about. I think you were going to a very critical point because it helps us to elaborate on our creative side and the kind of behind the scenes, right? And I have a couple thought processes behind it, and I'll give you a quick idea, and maybe we should end the podcast after that, after you have another point to make or whatever. But my son's graduation recently took place 2 days ago, and I didn't want to take photos because I didn't want to have to take photos of everybody and just kind of figuring it out. So I said, let me just take a video. But then I was like, you know what? I know I'm going to vlog, so I don't want to just do a video, and I don't want to do the standard video that a mom or dad would just have their smartphone and just be able to like zoom in digitally, have that really crappy resolution, and then staring at that one angle. So I said, let me try to do like an awesome vlog where I can get this angle, get that angle, and try to make sure everything's in full resolution, this and the other. And I'm going to say that, number one, I feel like I could have done better after I look back at it, and that's why it's a learning experience, and that's why we're conveying it on this podcast, because hopefully other creatives can kind of take away from what we're talking about here. I know it could have been much better because my vlog on that day didn't include more people, like my mom and dad, that for the most part they were just kind of standing there
Why
because
weren't they in it?
they were in it, but very minimally because they weren't too like
Interesting?
interactive. No, well, they're parents, but no, they weren't too interactive. But now I'm thinking about the other things that I could have gotten in terms of video and footage, and there are some personal reasons why I wasn't able to get it. But just to kind of, on the creative side, think back to what you should have captured um, is one aspect of what I'm talking about. The other aspect, which is more critical, I think, had I to do it over again, I would probably just hire a photographer if it's that important to me. If the event was that important to me, I would have hired a photographer, videographer, whatever I wanted. And I think that's what I want to do going forward. Because although I have the equipment and I have the experience and I know how to take a picture, do some video, I still feel like I lost out on that moment because I was so consumed with trying to make sure that I got the footage of my son walking down the aisle, taking that diploma, and of the parents' feedback and them smiling and making sure to get the angle. And I was like, as I looked through the footage, I was like, I was there, but I really wasn't there. You know how kind of like, I think one of my past girlfriends said this to me. She was like, listen, I want to talk to you. She's like, I know you're here, but you're not listening. You're not with me. We're not talking. I'm like, I'm here listening, talking. It's kind of like one of those experiences.
That's I can agree with that. Well, your point in general, I definitely agree with, but I can also confirm that's how you are. And it's not just at, significant events or moments. You're there, you listen, but you're doing 20 million things at once. So that is for
Okay.
sure the truth.
So that's why this podcast is going to be very helpful because as of right now, I'm doing one thing. I was cooking earlier and I was walking around.
Yeah, you were
Oh, no, this is
walking
before,
around, so it's not so
but,
big.
but, but to my defense, I thought that the mic was picking up from my headphone, my
No, there's
Bluetooth
no
headphone
defense.
versus,
There's no defense. You were doing something else. You can't. No. Don't. No defense.
okay, but the audio just cut out, really cracked. The audio just really crappy cut out, and it wasn't my fault at all, so don't blame me on that one, okay? So let's try to end this podcast on a positive note, which is
No. Yeah.
our significant others need to listen to us.
I want to do more creative stuff, and maybe we can work together on it, and we can utilize our friends. But I want to do like maybe a cinematic video. Maybe we can ride our boards around or something. I wanted to do maybe some comedy skits with a little bit higher production value, and it doesn't have to be like the sickest ish ever, but I think it would be fun to make something with our friends and just put it out there. So
I agree.
look forward to
I
that
agree.
stuff. All right, so what's our outro? We got to think of an intro and an outro. That's it, guys.
We don't even have a
Thanks
name
for
for our
listening.
podcast officially. No, do we even have an official name?
Thanks for listening. Subscribe to all our social media. You know.
Hold on. Hold on. Did you see the trending video on YouTube a few days ago? It was like this Asian dude that was looking and into a laptop, whatever, and he was like, I really like this video, but how do I go ahead and just kind of get a better understanding of what's going on? And then it quickly cuts away to, oh, make sure to comment, like, subscribe, and share.
No.
And then his response was, oh.
No. So you gotta send me a link. I don't know.
It was hilarious. I'll find it and I'll send it to you. And on that note, let's do something cool and we're out.
Okay, act normal.
All right. We need an outro for the next podcast. So for this one, let's just cut it at that.
Okay, just cut it. All right, I'm stopping it.
Yep. Cut it right. 3,
Cut
2,
it.
1.
Right.
Cut it right. 3,
Cut
2,
it.
1.
Right.
Cut it.